Welcome back. Our admin panel is full of blog posts, but our visitors who are not super users can't see them yet. So today we create a view that will fetch posts from the database, set a URL route to route this traffic, and build our template, our first template, to display this post to users, both those that are registered and those that are not registered. And by the end of today, you have a working blog homepage. So now let's go to our views in our blog post, and here we have a view right here. So views are Python functions that handle requests and return responses. That's just what you need to know. They handle requests when they are being made to the admin, and they return a response. So here you can see down here in the terminal when we are working with our admin panel. This was a GET request. So we have different type of HTTP requests: the GET, the POST, the PUSH, the patch, and the delete request. So views are what handle these things and return a response to the user itself, to the user. These are examples of response. This is a 200 status code. It's a part of response. Alright, so to work with our views now, what we need to do is first import our model into our views.py. So I'm just going to go ahead and say right here, okay, I think this a bit, okay, right. So you say from.models, right here. So just bring this down. Okay, from.models, I want to import post. So you have your post imported from models right here. The next thing you want to do is to create a function or a class for your views. But we are going to be using a function-based view, so don't worry about that. If you want to learn the difference between function and base view, I'll create a video about that later in the future. So now we have the list post right here. This is a function, and this is a post. I want to pass in this parameter right here, which is request. I want to create all our posts right here. I want to just go ahead and say post dot objects dot get all. Remember, this look familiar, right? This is by what we used in our Django shell the other time. If you can still remember that. I think that was in episode 2 or 3. Yeah, that should be 2 because this is episode 4. So now we want to order this. We don't want to just get all these posts. We want to order them according to one of the fields we have there. And I want to order them using our created ads. Our created ads view itself. And I want this to be negative. And I will explain that in a second. This is going to get all posts, but all the newest first. So the newest post will be on top, just like how you see when you're reading articles, you see the latest post first. So this is exactly what we are doing here. So I'm just going to comment that right there. Get all posts newest first. So we have this right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say return render. So I'm returning render right here. Request, now I'm going to set it. Okay, I have my request right here, and I want to have an HTML page I am using for this thing, which is a template right here. Now you can see your request, which is your HTTP request. Then you can see your template name, which you want to have here, and a context if you have any context. But here I want to have a template name right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say blog right here. We've not created this, but I'm going to go ahead and just say blog list.html. List.html right there. So we have list.html, and now for the context itself, we are going to pass it in a dictionary format, and we want to call this post because that's what we're going to use to access this in the post itself. And you want to pass in post as a key of this dictionary, as the value of this key post of the dictionary itself. So that is it. We have our view all set up. Now I want to tell Django which URL will trigger our view, which URL will send the request to our view, which is what will point us to do something right there. So now I want to go to our blog app again. I want to create a URL right here, a file called urls.py file. And this urls.py file, you can just go to, right, so let me just close this. So we have another URL that was created in our Django project file itself. So I can just open that URL right there. You can see what it is right there. So I can just copy this itself. I will come back and explain a bit about this URL in a bit. So just paste that here, and what I also want to import here is our view. So from dot import views. So I want to have the exact pattern right there, and I want to have URL patterns. So my URL patterns now, and I want to define all the paths I'm going to have right there. So I'm going to say views dot post list. So this is the view. So whenever we go to a URL that is just the home page, the default URL right there, we want to redirect the request to this view, and we want to give this URL path a name. So this is just the home page of our blog application itself. Okay, now we have a URL post, but we need to update our blog project URL itself, because right here, this is the URL we used to access the admin. If you remember how we access the admin in the first place, which is using this URL, that is what we have here. But we want to also tell the user that, okay, whenever you're trying to access something that has a blog post in it, you want to just like redirect it to the user. So by default, when we open this parameter, we want to just add, okay, the home page we want to redirect it to an application, and for that we need another import here, which means include, which is include itself. And right here, I just want to say include blog.urls. So what we're basically telling Python and Django to do is that whenever we are redirecting to this URL, we want to include every URL in blog.url, which is this, to a accessible route itself. So this route is like the root URL, right? It's like this, just like when you have something like google.com, like can have like google/dat.com, something like that. So this is just like the base URL right here. So now we are including this blog URL into the file itself. So now the template I added it last time in the view itself. What does this mean? And template control how data is displayed, which can be your HTML, your front-end aspect itself. So what you want to do now here is to tell Django that you have a template and he has to be able to access this template. So to do that, you need to follow a file structure, and okay, you need to create a folder right here, and you're going to call that templates. And inside this folder, you want to create another folder which you are going to call blog, which is the name. Okay, I said folder, not app, not a file, which is the name of the application itself. So I'm just going to call this blog. Alright, so I have to delete this. Then, okay, alright, so I have this, and I'm going to call this blog. So now I have this blog. Now I cannot create this post.html, postlist.html. So now I have this postlist.html. So this double blog poster avoid naming conflicts when we are with other apps, its application itself. So now we have this postlist.html and we have our post list here. Now we can see that we are opening this postlist.html from here directly. So now what do we do here? You can just write your HTML file here with a mix of Django template itself, because Django allow you to be able to embed some Python code into HTML itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and say PHP right here. Okay, open an edit tag. Don't worry if you're not a front-end developer, if you don't have much experience using PHP, we won't be having some crazy design right here. This is just to teach you the basics of Django. So we have the add folder right there. And okay, so in this area, I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, let's just have a title. And for this title, okay, I'll just go ahead and say right here, let's say Drew, meaning Django blog. So we have that right there. Now it's time for our body. So we can just have body right there. And all right. So yeah, for our body now, we want to have an edit tag for the post title, which is the h2. Let's use the h2 elements right there, the tag. Okay, and now to access this post title, don't forget that in our views, we set something right there, which is post, right? But before we do that right there, what we want to do is have an h1 element that indicates that these are blog posts. And I'm just going to call this like have blog post right there. And now here is where we start using Python code in form of elements right there. So I'm going to go ahead and say from here, I want to say for post in posts. Here now we're looking through all these posts that we've created in this context variable, in this context that will pass into this view itself. So we're accessing all the posts in post there, and at the end of this, you want to end your for loop. So I'm just going to go ahead and say end for. So yes, you've gotten that right from start. So now for post in post, what do we want to do? We want to get all the posts, we want to loop through all the posts and display them on the page. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this. So don't forget that for something like for loop, we are using a parenthesis and a percent sign, both at the ending and both at the beginning and at the end of the loop itself. But for a variable like character or a class accessing its attribute, we are using this double parenthesis, double curly braces, not parenthesis. So now I want to have a paragraph that display the context of the post, the content of the post, I mean. So we have post dot content right here. So this is post.content, and here we have small, I want to say posted on post.created at. I want to have HR element right here, which is just a line that is going to be here. And now we have our template set up. So don't forget that this for loop right here is looping through all the posts. So we have 5 posts in our admin that we created in the last video. If you've not watched that, make sure you go watch that. All right, and we have this here, which tells us is this display the dynamic data on this from our database itself. Now, can we test this on page that we created? So I'm just going to go ahead and restart this server. So I'm running this server again, restarting the server. So if we go back to our page right here, so we just run it. So I could just say right here, and all right, and just erase this and come to the home page right here. And here now we can say that we have our post right here, and compared to this is what we have. So now we can display our post. Don't forget, don't worry about the styling. So we can display our post, the date it was posted on, and right here we have our 5 posts, international group orchestration. We can see then it is arranged according newest. So we have one created 726, we have 740. So if I should go ahead and just create another post right here, we will see that that post has been added there. So let me just fill this up right there, fill into our form and save. So now yes, we can see another post has been added 8:07 a.m. So yes, that's what we do with our post. Now you can see that. Now you can see that, so we have this, you see the post from the admin panel, and as a user, you're able to see the post even when you're not logged in, even when you're not on the admin panel itself. So if you're having a debug, if you have an issue like blank page or a 404 error, if it's a blank page, check if post was passed to the template directly itself, and if it's a 404 error, verify that your URL.spy in your blog is included in your project URL. So what we did this time was create a view to fetch post from the database, map this view to a URL which was connected right here. We should map the view to a URL right there, and we build a template to display our post. So next now we'll be styling this page with CSS, a little bit of CSS to make it look more modern and a bit more professional. Right, so if you want to just like make it more beautiful, you can go ahead and use Bootstrap or Tailwind yourself to make it look better. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next video.